This is Mark Smelly Bell, and we're out here in the Arboretum in Davis, California. And I wanted to share some stuff with you today about how to be less fat. I made a post on my Twitter recently, and I would love for you guys to follow me on Twitter. I'm at Mark Smelly Bell on Twitter. Twitter is the only thing that I'm still posting on myself. I have other people posting on my IG and stuff. I decided to leave all that stuff behind and just really concentrate on myself, make myself better, so I can make better products and so I could be of better service to you and make videos like this. I wanted to spend my time doing things that I felt were a lot more worthwhile. At the moment, I have some negative thought processes surrounding Instagram, and so, you know, I've just figured, even though that's my perception of it, and I can change that, and I recognize that it's just all an interpretation. Instagram can certainly be positive. I don't know. I just found the water's getting very murky. I've left it before, and hopefully this time I don't go back. 3 ways to be less fat. I said, focus on what you eat. Number 2, focus on how much you eat. And number 3, which arguably could be number 1, number 3 is focus on how often you eat. So again, just to go over it again, focus on what you eat. Number 2, focus on how much you eat. And number 3, focus on how often you eat. So let's try to break these down one by one. Let's start off with number 3, focus on how often you eat. If you were to simply focus on how often you eat, other things may fall into place. So if you could focus in on how often you eat, then maybe you can tie in another rule and you can focus in on, that's going to automatically help. Well, maybe not automatically, but it should automatically, if you only eat like once or twice a day, it should help you with how much you eat. By setting certain parameters about how often you eat, such as having a short eating window or only eating once or twice a day, that should help limit the overall amount of food that you eat. Focusing on what you eat can also help with driving down the overall amount of food that you eat. Focusing on what you eat can also assist in how often you eat. So let me state this again. I know this can get a little confusing, but focusing on how often you eat. If, let's just hypothetically say that I eat twice a day, which is about what I do. I eat anywhere between 2 to 4 times a day. Today is a great example. I'm going to eat twice. I haven't really eaten anything from much of a caloric standpoint today. I did have some protein powder in my, I had some Slingshot protein in my iced coffee this morning. A little jump in protein post-workout. Then that's been about it, calorie-wise. I won't eat until tonight. I'm going out with the wifey. Can I get a hey now? Hey now. Going out with the wifey, and we're going to one of our favorite restaurants in Sacramento called Camden. We're going to enjoy some food there, probably enjoy some wine as well. But because I'm mainly only eating towards the end of the day, and because I'll probably mainly focus in on eating protein, I'm going to focus in on how often I'm eating by utilizing some like intermittent fasting strategies, and then from there I'm going to focus in on like what I'm eating. And if I eat a large amount of protein, that's going to limit the overall amount of food that I'm eating because of protein leveraging, which I've talked about many times on this show. I've talked about it, or many times on this channel. I've talked about it on my podcast as well. You know, check out more information on that. And also Dr. Ted Neiman talks about it, and there's other people in the industry that are talking about this more and more. Protein is the most satiating. Fat can help with satiation as well, because it can help with maybe like a longer duration of being satiated. Focusing on how much you eat can sometimes be predetermined by simply focusing on what you eat, by selecting a specific food. An example, 2 pounds of hamburger with some cheese on it. 2 pounds of hamburger with some cheese on it, or 2 pounds of ribeye is pretty easy. It's pretty easy to glide through 2 pounds of ribeye, especially if it's a real fat, nice fatty cut, right? How about 2 pounds of chicken breast? Man, 2 pounds of chicken breast is going to be really tough to get through. Or 3 pounds of chicken, right? It's going to be, or what if we went calorie per calorie? You know, if we went with like 80-20 beef versus, you know, a chicken breast. You know, you could eat a lot of chicken breast for the amount, versus the amount of 80-20 beef you would be able to eat. Let's just hypothetically, I'm just going to throw this out there and say I could probably eat about a half a pound of, if someone watching right now and in the comments below, you can calculate this for me, but I'm just going to make a wild guess and say about a half a pound of 80-20 beef is probably the equivalent of at least, man, maybe more, maybe almost 3 pounds of chicken. A half a pound of beef, 80-20 beef versus 3 pounds of chicken. You get to eat more when you go a little bit leaner. I hear this all the time. I would never be able to do that diet. I'd be starving. Would you? If you could have 3 pounds of chicken breast, would you? Eat a pound of chicken breast with, not a lot of crap on it, not a lot of stuff on it, no barbecue sauce, maybe like a little bit of mustard or a little bit of salt or something like that. Eat a good sized chicken breast. Eat a pound of chicken breast, and then tell me how hungry you are. You still might be hungry, but guess what? You can still make room for another chicken breast if you need to, and then that will drive down your hunger, especially over a period of time. So these 3 ways of being less fat, using any combination of these things can be really useful. Focusing on what you eat, focusing on how much you eat, focusing on how often you eat, and as you can see, they start to quickly intertwine with each other, and they start to have a relationship with one another when you start to eat properly. When you don't eat what humans are meant to eat, which in my opinion is natural foods. We have various forms of meat, we have vegetables, we have fruit. Outside of that, we got a little bit of other stuff. We got rice and beans and potatoes and stuff like that, right? Once we start to get outside of that, you start eating like bread and candy and ice cream and pizza, and I'm not going to say the human body's not designed to eat those things, because it seems like we do okay with them, but those things kind of mess up what our body was really meant to do. Those things mess up the special things that are within us already, mentally, physically, spiritually. It throws off your metabolism. It messes up your metabolism. Your metabolism that you have in your body, even if you're fat, even if you're heavier than you want to be right now, you have access to everything that your metabolism can do. You have access to everything that my metabolism can do if you start to eat properly. It might take a while, because you may have kind of retarded your metabolism. You may have messed up your metabolism. You may have been interfering with it by eating stuff that you shouldn't be eating. But as soon as you go and you switch to starting to eat things that you're supposed to eat, the foods I just mentioned, you start to eat healthier, and you do so for a long period of time, you gain full access to what the metabolism is supposed to and what it's meant to, what it's designed to be able to do. So if we think about, just how do we gain some longevity? How do we figure out a way to be consistent over a long period of time? Because that's going to be the way that we're going to be able to regain our health. That's the way that we're going to be able to get the body that we want. That's the way that we're going to be pumped and excited every single day about the physique that we work towards, and to be excited about our health in general. And the way that you're going to do it is by selecting foods that are going to fill you up fairly easy. Because the biggest culprit, it's really simple. The reasons why people aren't on a diet is because A, they think it's inconvenient, B, they think it's expensive. Inconvenient and expensive, garbage excuses. Neither one of those have to be true. You can eat economically. Please in the comments below, people that eat economically, people that handle it, that aren't rich, people that have made a lot of success on this style of diet, people that lost 10 pounds, 20 pounds, 50 pounds, that have done it without a major sacrifice in spending, thousands of dollars on their grocery bill every month. Please in the comments below, share how you did that. That's always an excuse that I hear, and I don't think it's not a valid one. Yes, you might see me eating fillets and New York strips, but that's my interpretation of what it means to be on a meat-minded diet, a meat-style diet. And your interpretation could be a little bit different because you're in a different space at a different time. Back in the day, I used to eat things that were a lot more affordable. Back in the day, I wouldn't even dare to look at the top of the line filet mignons and stuff like that. I wouldn't look at the top of the line ribeyes, because I knew it wasn't going to be cost effective. But you can save money. There's a lot of different ways you can do it. Anyway, when you start to select the right foods, you start to drive down your hunger. When you start to eat the correct foods, you start to drive down your cravings. Because if you fill up your cups and fill up your cups for your macronutrients and fill up your cups for your micronutrients, then your craving dish is full as well, and you don't have to really worry about, you know, where am I going to get that sweet flavor from? Where am I going to get this from? Where am I going to get that from? Those cravings, they come from being hungry. Those cravings come from not being fulfilled with the right amount of nutrients, both macro and micro. And those feelings of cravings also come from a lack of sleep. Those feelings also come from what I call protein displacement. If you're eating other things in favor of protein, when you end up with protein displacement, you're taking up room in your stomach, you're taking up valuable real estate for otherwise better consumed foods that will have a better reaction and that will have a better effect, and it will allow your metabolism to do what it's made to do, what it's supposed to do. Get the fuck out of your own way. Get out of the way of your metabolism, let it do its thing. This is why fasting is so beneficial. Intermittent fasting is huge, and that kind of brings me into how often we eat. How often you eat can be really solved really well with intermittent fasting. Let's say that normally, let's say for the last 20 years you eat 5 times a day and you eat 4,000 calories a day. What would happen if you ate twice a day? What would happen if you ate 3 times a day? And what would happen if not only you're mindful of how often you eat, but you're also a little bit mindful either of A, how much you eat, or B, you're mindful of what you actually eat. Any combination of these things will work. This is a solution to obesity. This is something that can help all of mankind. Anyone that's dealing with being too heavy, anyone that's really struggled with their food, I am here to help save humanity. I am here to help all of you that are fatter than you want to be. I'm here to help you get the body that you want. I'm here to help you get the health and nutrition that you want. We're going to do this. We're going to solve this together, and we're going to do so with knowledge. Behind any lack of knowledge is where all evil exists. It's where it all arises. When you don't have the correct knowledge to diagnose yourself with what you need to do next, you're going to end up in these same situations. You need to really learn about this. You need to absorb. You need to figure out how can you do a better job than you did yesterday. These are 3 ways to guarantee that you can be less fatterist. These are 3 surefire ways. These are 3 things that can absolutely truly help. And I'm not even really talking to you right now about diet. All I'm saying is when you start to focus in on what you eat, how much you eat, and how often you eat, so the overall amount of food that you eat, how much you eat, how often, how many times a day you eat, and then what's the contents of those food, you don't actually, that's my goal for my children. My goal for my children is that they're never on a diet. My kids ask me all the time, like, Dad, what are you doing? You're on keto, you're on carnivore, you're on this, you're on that. What should we do? And I say, kids, you should do your thing. You know, you should do your thing, and here's why. If you just follow some simple principles, you don't ever have to really adopt a real diet. And if you do so from the time, what I'm trying to unwind is years and years of fatness from the time I was a kid, because Mama bought too many cookies and baked too many cookies, too many cookie bars from Rosemary Bell, if you know what I'm saying. And so I'm trying to unwind a lot of unhealthy habits and unhealthy triggers that have been kind of cemented into my brain, and no fault of my parents. My parents were just, if they're guilty of anything, it's giving me too many hugs and too many cookies and too many bowls of ice cream. I'm not going to fault them for that. But as I grew older and as I gained more knowledge, I was able to make better decisions. I think you guys can too. I think by following along with what we do here, following along at markbell.com, that's where I'm putting a lot more time, a lot more focus there. That's another reason why I left Instagram, because I don't work for anybody. I work for myself, and I work for you guys, but I don't work for fucking Instagram. Fuck Instagram. I'd rather work for you guys. I'd rather put up points on the scoreboard for myself, and I'd rather teach you guys how to put up points on the scoreboard for yourself, rather than working for Instagram. Somebody says they're a Instagram influencer. I'm a content creator. You're a content creator for Instagram. You're a content creator. I'm a content creator right now for YouTube. I'm working for YouTube. But I'm grateful and I'm thankful that the message gets out to you guys in a way that I can communicate with you a full message, not a 1-minute Instagram message. I know there's IGTV, but this is a better message. This is a better form of communication, in my opinion. And when you see the comments on this channel and when you see the questions on this channel, I've noticed a huge maturity in a lot of you. It's really been awesome. Carlos and some other people around me. Carlos is the guy behind the camera right now. there's been a lot of people who are like, man, Mark, I noticed some changes in you, like a lot of cool things are happening, and noticing you're maturing. But man, I think a lot of it is the influence of you guys, because I'm seeing a maturity level out of you guys that's different. The level of questions, the quality of questions that's now on the channel is way superior to when we first started this new channel. And the point of starting this new channel was to help you gain new knowledge, and the only way that we gain new knowledge is through error correction. And so when you guys tell me, hey, I like that video, but I wish you did this, or hey, I would love to see a video on that, or when you throw a question out there that maybe I didn't have this perspective to answer, I didn't have the fortitude or the knowledge to understand that that was a question that was going to be asked, that helps me gain knowledge into how I can better help and better serve you guys. I'm having a lot of fun with this. Apply these 3 rules. If you have any questions, we can do a follow-up video to this, because I think that these 3 things are really, really powerful. I'm just going to finish with these last 3 things. I did mention sleep briefly, but sleep is really powerful. I have an Oura ring on. I also have an Apple Watch. I got a lot of kind of overkill things going on. I have an app on my phone that is measuring my sleep, because I'm trying to see if I snore, but apparently I don't snore at all. It's important that you track your sleep and that you learn about your sleep, because with not enough sleep, it's tough to make the right decisions. And if you're perpetually in the same position day in and day out, and you're like, man, I'm just having such a hard time, and you're kicking yourself and you're feeling bad about it, and you're like, I'm having such a hard time making the correct decisions with my nutrition, guess what, man? It's probably not your fault. I know you want to accept responsibility for things, and that is important, but you're simply probably just not getting enough of the nutrition that you need, the nutrients that you need. And the secondly, and probably the most important, is you're probably not getting enough sleep. It's not just enough sleep, but it's also quality sleep. We need 8 hours of quality sleep. I need you guys to really hammer that one home for yourselves. When I talk about putting up points on the scoreboard, I think sometimes people are confused. They think every single day that they have to have these massive victories going on. All I want you sometimes to do is just not lose. Just figure out a way to not lose. And a way to not lose is to simply just go to bed a half hour earlier than you used to. Go to bed a half an hour earlier than you used to, or an hour earlier than you used to, and still wake up, you know, at the same time in the morning, so you're getting that extra rest. But you shut down Instagram, you shut down your phone, you shut down Netflix, and get your ass to bed, because that rest and recovery is going to be the thing that helps you the most. Water, you know, just staying really hydrated and drinking water. Sometimes when you're hungry, just drinking some water can be really helpful, and also going for a walk. Water and walking, hydration and walking. I use a product called Keto Vitals. That's been really effective for me. I also, am frequently hitting up those 10-minute walks, nonstop all day long, and it just keeps me preoccupied. For you, maybe a 10-minute walk would be useful, but also maybe reading, playing some music, painting, getting lost in some thought, going out in the woods and being with nature and going for a good walk, listening to some music, listening to some new music, maybe listening to some nostalgic music. Just getting yourself in a good mood is also extremely powerful. So I forgot to mention those 2 things. I think water and walking are massive, but you can kind of replace the walking with really any sort of any sort of activity that's going to distract you away from the kitchen table, distract you away from not being in your pantry. Strength is never weakness, weakness never strength. Catch you all later, for real this time.